Good day or evening. I hope all is well with you. Welcome to Filling Your Soul, Living with Meaning and Purpose Through the Wisdom of the Kabbalah. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Sheila Sutherland. Sheila is a certified life and relationship mastery coach, professional educator, speaker, podcaster, best-selling author, and is the only licensed O-Shift facilitator in Canada. Sheila believes that the relationship with self is the foundation upon which everything in your life is built, and is on a mission to take the selfish out of self-care and self-love, as you deserve to be a priority in your own life. She is a natural-born teacher that brings massive knowledge to work with her extensive experience and professional education. Welcome, Sheila.
Well, thank you, Leah, so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Likewise, Sheila. Okay, let's begin. In the Kabbalistic teachings, living a meaningful and purposeful life is a key concept. Sheila, can you please share your thoughts about living with meaning and purpose and your personal journey that has led you to its fulfillment?
When I think about the idea of meaning and purpose, I think that's one of the grand questions in life, that we're always thinking about, like, why am I here? What is my purpose for being on this earth? And I think sometimes we can get caught up in thinking that it's supposed to be some big, grand, magical plan. And I think sometimes we forget that meaning and purpose can be found in little things. Now, for me, the whole idea of meaning and purpose didn't really play a part in my life too much until I went through some pretty major trauma. Now, I would hope that not everybody, has to essentially be brought to their knees before they start thinking this way. But it was at that moment when I had to have absolutely everything taken away from me before I had to really sit down and think, going, why am I here? Like, why have I been put on this earth in this moment in time? And is there something I'm supposed to do? And I think the answer, for me anyways, came to, I really had to find the root, the foundation in that, in figuring out who I was. Because if you don't truly know who you are at your core, the whole idea of meaning and purpose can get easily sidetracked. Because I think we can think that we're living with our meaning and purpose, but it's actually other people's meaning and purpose that they have kind of put upon us, where you hear like a lot of parents wanting their children to be, doctors and lawyers or do these grand things in their life. And you grow up always hearing this and you think, well, that's what my meaning and purpose is. But that's what somebody else wants you to do. So it's spending that time of figuring out who you are. What are your values? What actually has meaning to you? What lights you up? What energizes you? And from that, then you have a little bit of a roadmap to start to follow.
I agree with you. It's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking you're like somebody else, or you thinking you should have these values, or taking on a burden of parents wanting you to be a certain way. And yes, that's very insightful.
Well, I think that, it's not just, it's like, I think everybody falls into almost like this, these generational traps, for lack of a better term, of, trying to, my parents struggled in this and that, and I'm going to do better than my parents. And I'm going to, I'm going to do all these things for them and try to make, something bigger out of my life. And then and then you wonder why we get to the certain point and we're not truly happy. And my opinion is that, we're one of the main purposes of being here on life is to live our lives to our fullest, to be our happiest, to be our most joyful and energized. And it's like, what does that for you? And figuring that out, because it's, when we're living under the weight of all the, judgments and expectations of others, honestly, that gets us nowhere. And I think that that eats away at our core and at our soul eventually. And then we end up getting bitter and unhappy and thinking, oh, this is all that life is. And I think that it's when have to get to the point where enough, you just say enough is enough. I want something more from my life. I want it to mean something to me. And I think that's another thing too, is that your meaning and purpose doesn't have to be on this, it doesn't have to be a global scale. Now it can be, but it doesn't have to be. All it has to do is have meaning and purpose for you.
I agree with you because some people, they might find, like you say, meaning and purpose in the smallest things that make them happy. Mm-hmm. They may be perhaps helping somebody in their life. Maybe they're raising children and maybe they don't want a grand career or something, or mm-hmm. doing voluntary work. I mean, that's very meaningful, of course.
Definitely. Like I said it a few minutes ago, like I think that can be the real big trap, is that we sit there and go, oh my, what have I done with my life? I guess I don't have much meaning and purpose. I haven't changed the world in any way. Well, let's maybe change your thinking on that. That maybe when you're talking about changing the world, maybe it's just your world. Maybe it's just the world of the people around you, or the animals around you. Maybe animals are your passion. And there's some little thing you can do for nature or for the environment. Small little changes there could make a big difference. But what is it that is your meaning? And until you really know, like I say, who you are, what are your values, that can be a tough one to try to figure out.
Right. And then there's the point of when a person finds what they like to do, and I brought this up before with other speakers, mm-hmm. that there are so many challenges to learning these new skills that sometimes it's easy to fall into, oh, I'm not happy anymore because this is so difficult to do. Yes. But then when they do something, they may feel, oh my gosh, I feel energized, and I feel like I reached another plateau because I went through this, and it was a challenge, but I grew.
Oh, definitely. Because let's not sugarcoat it. Change is hard.
Yes,
it just is, right? It's there. Anyone who says that change is easy is not being truthful, I think, with themselves. But there's a reason for that. If change was easy, we'd all be doing it. And we know that there a lot of people in this world aren't. When you are being led or you're inspired to make a change in your life, you're being asked to up level in some way, which means there are going to be skills you need to learn, which means that think of when you were a baby, we didn't come out knowing how to walk. We had to, we sat around, we crawled around and rolled around for a while, and then wait a minute, went, hey, you know what? I have these two legs. I'd like to do something. I'd like to see a little bit more of this world and get around a little faster. And how many times did we get up and fall down? Thankfully, we're wearing diapers, so usually when we fell down, it didn't hurt so much. But still, we had to get up and fall down quite a bit before we mastered how to walk. So now, as adults, we kind of get shy at the fact of, you know what, I still might have to get up and fall down a few times. As we keep doing that, eventually you're going to build the skill and the resilience you need to get to that new level. But then that doesn't mean that that's the last where you stop. There's always going to be new levels.
Right. And so I hope all the listeners are listening and realizing that it will be worthwhile in the end, but it takes a lot of effort and hard work. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, and I think it's kind of like keeping the eye on what is it that you want for your life? And we kind of alluded a little bit to that when you talked about being happy. I think if you did a poll on, the person, the man on the street kind of thing, and you asked them, what do you want most out of life? I think you're going to get into the high 90% of people that are going to say, I just want to be happy. But then the next question is, well, why aren't you happy now? People kind of have this idea that happiness is something we have to search for and try to find. And it's like this grand adventure that we have to go and search for, when happiness can be cultivated right here, right now. And it's just you making the choice in this moment. If something happens, can I still be happy regardless of what this event is? And this is where I kind of look at it of, the difference between happiness as emotion and a happiness as a lifestyle. because happiness as an emotion is fleeting. It has to do with outside circumstances. It can be here now and be gone in the next moment. But happiness as a lifestyle means that I can be happy no matter what. Yes, bad things happen. That's life. Unfortunately, you know what? Negative things are going to happen in our lives. But can I find a message or a learning in it and move myself forward from it? Can I choose to still be happy in who I am as a person? So maybe something didn't work out. Okay, well, my life didn't come to an end. My world didn't end. I can still move forward. Or do I keep myself, trapped in this, oh, I could have done better kind of thing, and oh, woe is me? It all comes down to choice.
Absolutely. And then also it's just that gratitude that even though it might be difficult or maybe a trying time, that there's something that's going to come from this that will make me all the better of a person.
Oh, definitely. Like, I think I kind of credit gratitude as the foundation of my own transformation, because that's kind of one of the places that I started, because I started thinking of going, okay, I'm kind of in this moment. I feel like the whole world is against me. Everything I do is just not working out, but I don't like how this feels. So I need to find what I'm grateful for in life. And I actually gave myself a couple of different challenges that I did to help, build those neural pathways in my brain to start looking for the good things in life instead of always looking for the danger or the negative things. And I mean, would you mind if I mentioned a couple of what they are?
No, I was going to ask you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So, well, one thing I did, and there's a lot of neuroscience actually behind this, because I'm studying a course now on positive psychology, and they actually talk about this. So I was like, woohoo! I was actually on the right, I actually was doing the right thing, and I didn't even know it. But they talk about how at the end of the night, actually sitting down and writing, between 3 and 5 things that you're grateful for in that day. And when I was doing it, I was thinking, okay, what made me smile today? What kind of, gave me, a little bit of a chuckle or a laugh, or what just made me feel kind of warm and fuzzy today? And sometimes it was hard. Some days it's like I'm really struggling trying to find even 3. But as you start doing that and making that a daily ritual and a habit, it becomes easier. And you're looking at it going, it doesn't have to be a big grand thing. It could be, you know what? I actually took a few moments on a sunny day and enjoyed my surroundings. Maybe it's you've just come through winter and all of a sudden, spring is now here, and just that feeling, that sun on your face made you smile. So it's, what is it that you're grateful for, and then say why. Sometimes it's really easy to go, I'm grateful for this, 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 and this. But why are you grateful?
Can you give an example, please, of one thing that someone might be grateful for? Yeah.
So, okay, because say, maybe someone's having like they're having a hard time coming up with something that's grateful, and they're like, oh, well, I'm grateful I have food in the fridge. Yeah, that's a really great thing to be grateful for. Okay, so why are you grateful for that? Well, because I'm, when I'm hungry, I know I can just go and find something to satisfy my hunger when there are so many people in this world that don't have that ability. So I'm very grateful that I can do that. I don't have to go and search for my food. It's right there behind a door. So it's just taking it one step further, that yes, you're grateful for that, but why? Just to give it just a little bit of a deeper meaning, if that makes sense.
It does. So what you're saying is that your whole journey and your whole life is really meaningful. And you might find something that you love, that you connect to, but as you're living it, you're always feeling that everything that's happening is meaningful in some way.
Oh, definitely. You know what I mean? And sometimes we can, we can look too much for meaning, as you're like, oh, this happened to me today. Oh, I wonder what the meaning in that is. Well, you know what? Sometimes stuff just happens. There isn't a grand meaning in absolutely every single thing that happens to you in a day, but it's finding that meaning in the things that make you feel good. Because I think if you actually started tracking some of those things, that might actually help when you're trying to discover what your meaning and purpose is. If you're finding that, if you're looking through your gratitude journal and all the things that you're putting in there that you're grateful for, maybe are all around, listening to, the laugh of a baby or seeing kids play in the park or something, that, well, maybe your meaning and purpose is working with children, because that's giving you so much gratitude and happiness and lightness in your life. So if you actually kind of go through and going, what is it that I'm grateful for? You may discover some things about yourself. Then the other the other thing I did is I gave myself a challenge called the 100 Days of Happiness. And again, I had to take a picture of something each day that made me happy. And then to keep myself accountable, I had to put it on social media. So I would put it up on either my Instagram or Facebook. And what a great way to then spark a conversation with other people. Because in doing that, I actually inspired other people to do that. They're like, oh my God, that's a really good idea to do that.
It's a great idea.
Because it's just, again, it's just kind of training your mind to look for the happy, to look for the positive, because it's out there. There's always a saying out there that, if you think the world is horrible, that's what you're going to find. But if you think the world is wonderful, that's what you're going to find. It's whatever you think, you're going to find proof of that. So if I'm going to find proof of whatever it is I'm going to focus on, I want to focus on the good things, because why would I waste my energy focusing on the negative?
Right. And it's great that we can drop the baggage, because when we're younger, sometimes we get confused. We don't know how to respond. We might think negatively, but you're saying you can rebuild neural pathways and you can start over again.
Oh, definitely. And kind of going on what we were saying there just a couple of seconds ago is, I think, when you look at a lot of I'm just thinking of a good way to say this, but like the positive thinking movement, I'm a big cheerleader of it, but I think there's a certain part of it that we have to be careful around, in that it doesn't mean that we have to be happy and positive all the time. Somewhere along the line, we have been taught in society that there are emotions that are negative and they're bad, and we need to avoid them and not pay attention to them. All emotions are beautiful. All emotions are there for a reason. So there are times when you need to feel the sadness, you need to feel the anger or the disappointment, because there's a meaning in them there. There's a lesson of some sort. If we go with this idea that, oh no, I have to be happy 100% of the time, that's not really authentic.
It's not authentic, and then you get disappointed instead of...
Oh, exactly. And then you start living behind this facade of, oh, look at me, I'm the happy person, but inside you're not. And that's the danger of always feeling like you have to be positive 100% of the time. I don't think there's a single person on this earth that is happy 100% of the time. And if they are, they're doing it by chemically enhancing themselves. So, I think it's kind of just taking some of the stigma off of the so-called negatively perceived emotions, and just, because sometimes we just have to sit in those emotions and kind of go, yeah, right now I'm feeling sad, and this is why. And you allow yourself that moment, and then you're like, okay, I'm done. Now how am I going to move forward?
Right. It's important to embrace them and to let them pass, and not to tuck them away.
Yeah, because like I say, that's the hard part for some people, is they'll get in them and then they hold tight to them and they don't want to let them like flow through them. And then you get stuck in that never-ending negative loop.
Yes.
Feel it, take whatever you need to have from it, and then release it.
Absolutely.
And again, that takes time. You're not going to learn that overnight. It's kind of like one of our ongoing learnings as adults.
Well, thank you. Okay, so let's move on here, Sheila. Thank you for that. What tips can you offer to listeners, Sheila, that can teach and inspire them to connect to their passion or the things they love that are meaningful to them and live their dreams?
Well, I think we've kind of talked a little bit about that already, in that it's truly understanding the why behind their passions and dreams. And if you ask somebody, what is your passion or what is your dream? and they tell you, and then you're like, okay, what are you doing to move towards that? Oh, well, I haven't. Then I think your why isn't fully been explored yet. Because I think if you're truly your why is truly connected to who you are as a person and what your values are, then you will be doing some sort of inspired action to move yourself towards it. But if you're not doing some sort of action, then there's a couple of different conversations that need to be had there. Either there is, maybe some limiting beliefs or thought patterns that are holding you back that maybe you need to explore to be able to release those. Or maybe, again, the why is not your why. It could be somebody else's why. So so if you have, like I say, the passions and dreams, I'd like you to just really kind of look at what is the why behind these? Why am I passionate about this? Why is this my big dream? And if you really feel that, yes, this is me, this is in alignment with who I am and what my goals and values are, then you need to set a plan, because your passions and dreams are not going to happen just on their own. I'd love to say that all we have to do is, write them out and put them on a vision board and they're magically going to appear, but you need to do some inspired action towards them.
Yes.
And I think that's the piece that some people miss, that it's like you actually have to have a plan to move yourself towards it. And if it is fully in alignment with you, you will see that, like I say, the universe will conspire to work with you on this. And you can, when things are in perfect alignment, things can move fast. And I can say that from experience because I have experienced that a lot lately.
Oh, that's great. And thank you. These are great tips. And it's great to know this working for you and it'll work for everybody else. So the next question kind of, I'm asking you, how can we all remain positive? And like you say, sometimes we're not positive. Sometimes we have other feelings and we need to embrace them. But how can we all remain positive and continue to move forward in the face of personal inner and outer challenges that are part of the human condition?
Well, like I say, and that's kind of like a lot of the root behind the whole positive psychology, in that a lot of times we think of, to live the happy, positive life, we just have to get rid of what we don't want in our lives. But it's more than that. It's being positive is not just in the absence of the negative. We have to cultivate and nurture the positive. So like I say, so even though, you've had, maybe some personal challenges or some outer challenges going on in your life, what, I mean, honestly, we all have them. No one's perfect. We all have it in some way. We all get hit at some point in time. Life is going to throw us something. But It's now, how can I look at this and use it to propel me forward? Because instead of looking at this and then allowing that negative Nelly to start tearing you down, you start having all that negative self-talk happening. It's how can I take that thought? Because, honestly, those thoughts will happen. How can I now take that thought and challenge it and go, you know what? No, I'm not a bad person. I made a mistake. This didn't work out. That doesn't mean this is how it's always going to be. I can now learn from this and move forward.
Yes.
So it's kind of changing your thinking from, because some people are naturally a pessimistic type of thinking, and it's changing it to a more optimistic, that everything that happens in our life is temporary. It may feel like the world is ending in that moment, but it's actually only a temporary condition. It's a lot of times there's a lot of things in events that happen that are controllable. They may not fully be controllable, but there's some portion of it that you do have control over. And that's the part that you can start working on.
In other words, the way you react, the way you respond.
Yes.
Those things. And practicing till you get it, so that you feel
definitely
more in control.
Because that's the base of my whole, that old O-Shift program is, it's not so much of what happens to you, it's how you respond to it.
Yes, and we all need practice with that because we didn't learn
Oh,
it.
yes.
We didn't learn it in school. So,
Oh gosh, no, you talk about the certain life skills that we really need to actually do this thing called life. Yeah, we don't learn them in our formal education. And I think we're just supposed to, we think we're just supposed to figure them out as we go along, as there's no handbook. But this is where, that's kind of like the one of the great benefits of finding a coach that you can work with, right? Because then there's somebody who can help you reframe some of these things and help you think of them and look at them maybe in a different way. And you're like, oh, okay, I can move forward from this. You don't have to do this thing called life alone.
yes, and it gives people a lot of hope, knowing they have support, and gives them a lot of direction.
Yeah, whoever that may be, it could be a friend or a family member or whoever. Mm-hmm. But, find that, whoever, you consider your people, your tribe or, whatever term you want to put on it. But surround yourself with those supportive and positive people that, understand you and what you've been through and can help move you forward. There's a saying, again, I don't know who said it, but it's, you're the kind of like the combination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I used to think that was kind of a very odd saying, but I'm like, you know what? No, that's true. The people that we spend our time with really has a huge effect on us. So choose your inner circle wisely.
Yes, it's very important. And not only that, sometimes there are people that want to put us down because they don't feel good about themselves. So it's really, really important to know who to be with. Yes.
And not everybody has the right to know everything about you, right? Again, it's knowing who to tell what to, right? Because again, like you said, there are some people who can, you may tell your hopes and dreams to, and then they right away will start, raining on your parade kind of thing. Oh, you can't do that. That's crazy. I firmly believe in telling people, don't keep your passions and your dreams just to yourself. You want to get them out into the world, but not everybody deserves to hear them.
Yes.
Choose the right people who are going to be supportive of you in them, and that will maybe actually help you along the way.
Very wise advice to be discriminating about that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Okay, well, Sheila, thank you. I greatly appreciate your participation today. Are there any last thoughts you can leave with us?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I think just like if you're kind of just coming back to the gratitude thing, if you're going to just do one thing, just to start making any sort of change in regards to swinging that pendulum of, even if it's just 51% to the more positive side of things, to start with some sort of a gratitude practice. And there are several different ones out there. Find whichever one, works for you. I do, I have a free ebook on my website that people can go to. I talk about 5 different activities that I had done to help build the practice of gratitude. So that's only 5 of, like I say, several that are out there, but people are more than welcome to, take advantage of that. But it's just find some sort of activity to start rewiring those pathways in your mind, to start looking for the good in life, because the more that you do it, the more that you will find.
Thank you. And it's so nice to appreciate your life. It's so special and so precious. And it's nice to know that people can learn to really appreciate it. And when they grow older, they won't feel like they wasted it all.
Oh my goodness. And I used to know the number off the top of my head, but I just don't right now. But if you would look at the odds of the genes coming together to make the combination to make exactly who you are, the numbers are so tiny that every single one of us are a miracle, right? And it's not like there's just no way that we can make carbon copies of each other, because there's too many genes and combinations that make each of us up, that when we look at ourselves in that way, that we're each little miracles walking around in the streets each day, we can surely appreciate who we are.
Yes. Well, thank you. And Sheila, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and possibly download that ebook?
Definitely. Just you can go to my website at reigniteyourpurpose.com. And yeah, the ebook is right there on the front page. All of my social media links are on there. People can hook into my podcast as well. That is by the same name of Reignite Your Purpose. And if you know what, if you just have questions or you just want to talk about something, fill out the contact form and let's have a conversation.
Okay, do you all hear that? Okay, great, Sheila. So thank you for taking the time to be with us and for sharing your insights and your tips and on living with meaning and purpose, and wishing you all the best and all success in all you do.
Thank you, Leah. Again, it was an honor being here, and thank you for the invite. This was awesome. I appreciate
My pleasure. And thank you to all of you who've joined us. God willing, until we meet again, wishing you health, happiness, success, and blessings.